Welcome to Learn English Speaking. Let's Talk Stories. Here we bring you amazing stories to improve your English fluency. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more exciting lessons. Let's learn together.
Tom Smith was a nice young man. He wanted a job, but he couldn't find one. Many people wanted to work, and there weren't many jobs. Tom felt sad because he never had money for clothes or the cinema. When he was younger, Tom wanted to be a footballer. He was good at football, and at tennis, too. He was good at every sport, but there were other, better players. Now, Tom had a new idea. He thought, perhaps I can find a job in a sports shop. I'll be happy then, and I'll have money. But it was only an idea. It never happened. He tried hard to find a job. He looked in the newspapers every day. And he wrote letters for jobs. A lot of letters. But he never found a job. One day, he saw something in the newspaper about a fair in the park near his house. That will be interesting, he thought. It's next Saturday. I think I'll go. Yes, I'll go. I'm not doing anything this weekend, and it won't cost much. On Saturday, Tom walked to the park and bought a ticket for the fair. It was a warm summer day. The sky was blue, and the park was very pretty. There were a lot of flowers, blue, yellow, and red. Tom felt happy when he saw them. The fair was good, too. There were a lot of people there, and many different games. Tom played some games. He won a box of fruit and a book about sport. Then he bought an ice cream because he was hot and thirsty. I'm having a good day, he thought. He sat down and ate his ice cream. Now, what shall I do next? Suddenly, he saw, in large letters, Madam Zelda knows the future. Do you want to know about your future? Come in and talk to Madam Zelda. Tom Smith thought very hard. Shall I go in? Why not? I'm not afraid of the future. Perhaps it will be interesting. Yes, I'll go in and have a conversation with Madam Zelda. So he went in. It was very dark inside. An old woman with grey hair and a kind face smiled at Tom. Hello, young man, she said. Sit down, and I will tell you about your future. Tom sat down. The old woman looked at some cards on the table. Take 3 cards, she said. Tom took the cards and gave them to her. The woman looked at the cards for a long time. Then she spoke. She didn't smile now. Listen, she said. I have to tell you something very important. Do not go anywhere next Friday. Make a journey next Friday, and you will never arrive. Something will happen on the way. Don't forget now. I can tell you nothing more. Be careful, young man. Tom left. The sun was very hot on his face. He had no more money, and he wanted to go home. I'm not afraid, he thought. I don't go on journeys. I won't go anywhere next Friday. Every day is the same to me. I haven't got a job, so I don't go anywhere." But on Thursday, Tom had a letter. It was an answer to one of his letters. There was a job in a town 30 kilometers away. It was in a sports shop. The boss wanted to meet Tom the next day. Tom felt very happy. "I'll have to take a train there," he thought. "I can't walk 30 kilometers." Suddenly, he remembered the old woman at the fair, and he felt afraid. "Do not go anywhere next Friday," she told him. "But what can I do?" Tom thought sadly. "I can't lose this job. It's too important to me. I'll have to take the train tomorrow. And what can an old woman know about the future? Nothing." But he wasn't very happy about it, and he didn't sleep well that night. The next day was Friday, and Tom went to the station. He bought a ticket at the ticket office. The train arrived, and he climbed on it. An old man sat down next to Tom. His face was intelligent under his white hair. He had a bad leg, and Tom felt sorry for him. The train left the station and went through the country. A waiter came round with some food, and the old man bought a sandwich. Then he smiled at Tom and said, "Are you thirsty? I've got some tea with me. Would you like some?" He took out a cup and gave Tom some tea. "He's a kind man," Tom thought. "I really like him." He smiled at the old man and said, "Thank you. I'm Tom Smith. Are you going a long way?" But the old man couldn't answer. Suddenly, there was a very loud noise, and the train stopped. What was wrong? The people on the train were afraid. They all looked out of the windows, but they couldn't see anything. "Don't be afraid," Tom told his new friend. "I'll go and see. Perhaps it's an accident. Stay here, and you'll be okay." The old man smiled. "Thank you, my young friend," he said. "I will stay here. My old legs are very weak." Tom found the guard. "What's wrong?" he asked him. "Why did we stop?" The guard looked at Tom unhappily. "There's a large tree in front of the train," he said. "We'll have to move it, but we can't do it quickly. So this is the end of the journey for you. You'll have to get off the train and walk." "Walk where?" Tom asked. The guard looked at a map. "There's a village near here. You can go there and perhaps find a restaurant or a cafe. I have to stay here with the train. I'm very sorry about your journey, but you'll get your money back." Tom thought, "The money isn't important. I really wanted that job." And he felt very sad. Tom didn't say anything about the job to the old man. He helped his friend off the train and carried his case to the village. "Thank you very much," the old man said to Tom. "I know that my case is heavy. There's a computer in it, and there are a lot of papers." Tom smiled. "It's all right," he said. But inside he was very sad. "I was stupid," he thought. "I didn't listen to the old woman. But she was right. I won't get that job now." The old man saw Tom's sad face and asked him, "What's wrong, my young friend?" So Tom told him the story about the job in the sports shop. Then a strange thing happened. The old man smiled, and then he laughed. Why did he laugh? Tom didn't know, and he felt a little angry. The old man was his friend, but this was a bad day for Tom. It wasn't funny. Tom couldn't speak or smile. The old man saw this, and he stopped laughing. Then he said, "Listen to me, Tom, and don't be sad. I'm a rich man. I've got a lot of shops in different towns, and they're all sports shops. I want an intelligent young man to work in my new shop. It's also my biggest shop. Will you work for me? I think I know you now. You were very kind to me on the train. You're the right person for the job. What's your answer?" "This is wonderful," Tom said, with a happy smile. "This is the best day of my life, not the worst."
Chapter 1. The First Americans. The Indians. The American Indians came from Asia about 40,000 years ago. They crossed the Bering Strait. Then they went down to North and South America. About 20 million Indians lived in America when the first explorers arrived. These Indians lived in many different tribes. Every tribe had a chief. The Indians and the explorers were friends. The Indians taught the explorers how to grow corn, potatoes, and tobacco. They taught them how to travel by canoe in the wilderness. The explorers brought the Indians rifles. The explorers also brought illnesses. Many Indians died from these illnesses. The Indians of the plains were expert hunters. They rode fast horses. They hunted the buffalo with bows and arrows or rifles. These Indians followed the buffalo across the plains. They used the buffalo for food, clothes, and teepees. The other American Indians were farmers. They farmed, fished, and hunted small animals. These Native Americans were happy people. They were strong, healthy, and courageous. They loved and respected nature. After many years, more new settlers and explorers went to America. They wanted to go to the West. They wanted to live there. They took the land from the Indians. The Indians were very angry, and the Indian Wars started. Many people were killed. The Indians lost their land and their way of life. They went to live on reservations.
Chapter 2. Daniel Boone. Before 1803, most of America was a wilderness. There were no maps and no roads. Daniel Boone was a famous explorer and pioneer. In 1769, he traveled across the Appalachian Mountains to Kentucky. He opened the road to the West. Daniel Boone and his family built a cabin and a fort in Kentucky. Boone had many adventures with the Indians. The Indians captured and killed 2 of his sons. In 1778, Boone was captured by the Shawnee Indians. He was their prisoner, but these Indians respected him. He was a strong fighter and a courageous man. Boone helped the pioneers. His fort protected settlers during Indian attacks. Boone was an American free spirit. He loved freedom and adventure. In 1799, he went to Missouri. He said to his friends,
"There are too many people here. I'm going to the West."
America grew very quickly. Johnny Appleseed was another American pioneer. In the 1800s, he planted apple trees on the frontier. He helped the settlers in Ohio and Indiana.
Chapter 3. The Lewis and Clark Expedition. In 1803, the United States President, Thomas Jefferson, bought the Louisiana Territory from France. He paid $15 million for this immense piece of land. President Jefferson liked science. It was very interesting. He wanted to learn about the plants and animals of the new territory. In May 1804, President Jefferson asked Meriwether Lewis and William Clark to explore the Louisiana Purchase. Lewis and Clark were the first white men to see this land. This important expedition began in St. Louis, Missouri. About 50 men traveled up the Missouri River. They explored the territory and made maps. After 6 months, they stopped and built Fort Mandan. They spent the long winter there. In the spring of 1805, the expedition continued. An Indian woman called Sacagawea went on the expedition with the explorers. She was a friendly Shoshone Indian. Sacagawea spoke English and other Indian languages. She was very helpful. Sacagawea's brother was a Shoshone chief. A Shoshone guide helped the explorers cross the high mountains. The journey was difficult and dangerous. Grizzly bears and other animals attacked the explorers. The explorers built canoes. They traveled down the Columbia River to the Pacific Ocean. They arrived at the Pacific Ocean in November 1805. They built a fort there. The expedition returned to Missouri in September 1806. The explorers traveled 8,000 miles, 12,800 kilometers, from May 1804 to September 1806. The Lewis and Clark expedition was very successful. Lewis and Clark made many maps. They brought back a lot of information about the West. In the 1840s, John Fremont and Kit Carson explored the land between the Rocky Mountains and the Pacific Ocean. They visited California and Oregon. Fremont made the first scientific map of the West. Another important pioneer was Davy Crockett. He fought for the independence of Texas. This was the beginning of the great movement to the West.
Chapter 4. Let's Go West. After the Lewis and Clark expedition, settlers, gold prospectors, and trappers went to the West. The American frontier was immense. Settlers wanted to build homes and farms in the West. They wanted a better life. Gold prospectors wanted to find gold and become rich. Trappers wanted to hunt wild animals. This was an exciting period. In 1841, thousands of pioneers began their long journey. They started in Independence, Missouri. From there, they took the Oregon Trail or the Santa Fe Trail. They traveled for 4 to 6 months. Most journeys began in the spring. The pioneers wanted to arrive before winter. The pioneers traveled in covered wagons pulled by mules or oxen. They put food, clothes, furniture, and other things in the covered wagon. A lot of families took cattle and sheep. Many covered wagons traveled together. This was called a wagon train. All the wagon trains had a leader called a captain. They also had a scout. The scout knew the trail well. He walked in front of the others to look for Indians or other dangers. The journey was long, difficult, and dangerous. It was difficult to cross big rivers and tall mountains. The weather was another problem. In the summer, it was very hot. There was little water to drink. There was little grass for the animals to eat. Rain and snow were also a problem. About 10,000 people died on the Oregon Trail between 1835 and 1845. The Indians killed only 400 people.
Chapter 5. Life on the Frontier. When the settlers arrived at their destination, they began to work. They began to build a home and plant crops. The home was usually made of logs. It was called a log cabin. It was a small home with 1 or 2 rooms. The settlers made the furniture. They used logs to make tables, chairs, and beds. Men, women, and children planted crops. Corn and wheat were important crops. The settlers ate a lot of corn. The men hunted buffalo and other animals. Men, women, and children worked all day. There was little free time. There were no shops on the frontier. The settlers bought some things from Fort Laramie and Fort Bridger. Some women brought a spinning wheel to the frontier. These women made yarn. They used yarn to make clothes. Illness was a big danger on the frontier. There were no hospitals, few doctors, and very little medicine. Many people died at a young age. Most settlers lived far from churches. When they wanted to get married, they waited for the circuit rider. The circuit rider was a religious man. He traveled on the frontier. Settlers often waited months for the circuit rider. Who were the frontier people? The frontier people came from the East, the South, and the Indiana Territory. They also came from Europe, Scandinavia, and China. Most settlers were honest people, but some were outlaws. Some of them wanted excitement and adventure. Frontier people were strong and courageous. They loved the freedom and adventure of the frontier. They were true American free spirits. Villages and towns began to grow on the frontier. Some became important cities.
Chapter 6. The California Gold Rush. In 1848, John Marshall discovered gold at Sutter's Fort in California. This western territory became famous. Thousands of people traveled to California to look for gold. This was the California Gold Rush. These people were called 49ers. The first 49ers arrived in San Francisco in February 1849 on the steamship California. Others came to California on the Oregon and California Trail. In 1849, almost 100,000 people arrived in California to look for gold. San Francisco became a very important city. There were many small mining towns in the California gold country. Many 49ers found gold, but only some of them became rich and important. The discovery of gold changed the destiny of California and the West. The population of California grew very quickly. It became the 31st state of the United States in 1850. A lot of people traveled to the West. A lot of gold traveled from California to the East. From 1852, the Wells Fargo stagecoaches traveled from the East Coast to the West Coast. Wells Fargo was a very important company in the West. The stagecoaches carried passengers, money, mail, and gold across the continent. A journey across America by stagecoach was a great adventure. 4 or 6 horses pulled the Wells Fargo stagecoaches. There were 4 to 6 passengers in every stagecoach. The journey was very uncomfortable. The stagecoaches traveled all day and all night. Passengers slept inside the coaches on hard seats. Indians and outlaws attacked the stagecoaches.
Chapter 7. The Indian Wars. The Indian Wars began in the 1800s. Thousands of pioneers went to the West. They took the Indians' land. The Indians were angry. They did not want to lose their land. The Wars of the Midwest. In 1811, the Shawnee Indians of the Indiana Territory attacked the settlers and the U.S. Army. These Indian Wars continued until 1832. The Black Hawk War was the last Indian war in the Midwest. The Indians lost this war and their land. The Wars of the Southeast. In the 1830s, Osceola was the chief of the Seminole Indians of Florida. He said,
We will fight until the last drop of Seminole blood.
The Seminole Indians did not want to leave their land. They fought for many years. In 1837, Chief Osceola was captured. Most of the Seminoles were killed. The Cherokee Indians were a strong and important tribe. They had big plantations and farms. The settlers wanted their land. In 1839, the U.S. government told the Cherokees to leave their homes. They went to an Indian reservation in Oklahoma. Many Indians died during the long journey. The journey was called the Trail of Tears. The Wars of the Great Plains. In the 1850s, many pioneers crossed the Great Plains. Many of them settled there. The Sioux and Cheyenne Indians fought against these settlers. The Sioux and Cheyenne Indians were courageous warriors. The Sioux chiefs were Crazy Horse, Red Cloud, and Sitting Bull. They told their warriors, "Fight to kill, or you will lose your lands." The Sioux and Cheyenne Indians attacked U.S. Army forts and settlers. The fighting was terrible. It continued for many years. The U.S. government told the Indians to go to an Indian reservation. Chiefs Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull did not want to go. There were a lot of brutal battles. Many people were killed. The Apache and Comanche Indians also fought against the U.S. Army and the settlers for many years. The Apaches were great warriors. They loved their land and their freedom. They didn't want to lose them. They preferred to fight and die. Geronimo and Cochise were famous Apache chiefs. Their courage was legendary. Everyone was afraid of Geronimo and Cochise. The Indian Wars ended in 1890.
Hope you got my email. And I hope this letter won't make you angry. I am coming to England because I must leave Chile. I haven't done anything wrong, but my brother has. He's in with some bad people. My brother has disappeared. Nobody knows where he is. His friends think I've got some of his papers, but I haven't. So I want to come to England and get away from all these problems. Maybe I can get a job and stay there for a bit. Also, I want to see you. I think we're at the beginning of an exciting time together. I'll be with you very soon. Until then, please believe me that I have done nothing wrong. Please email me and tell me I can come. Lots of love and kisses. Javier. We are writing about Mr. Thomas Cooper, who has sadly died. Mr. Cooper has remembered you in his will, and we would be grateful if you could write to this office as soon as possible. Yours sincerely, Frank Barrett. And what happened to Jason, David and Nina, Maggie, and the Davies family? Jason went away for 2 weeks to stay with his grandmother. She looked after him, and he began to feel better about himself. When he got back to Bath, he was sad that there was still no letter from the art school in London. He phoned the school, but it was too late. The school said he could have a place the next year. For a year, Jason stayed in Bath and did lots of different jobs. Simon, his father, came to the house sometimes, and Jason began, slowly and carefully, to get to know him. Nina's letter to the head office of the bank arrived safely. David never got the letter from his parents, but his mum and dad phoned him on his birthday, and he learnt about the restaurant. It was the best birthday present in the world. Nina decided to work in Newcastle and come home at the weekends. They were lucky because David's niece came to study at Bath University. She stayed with them and looked after Max. But it wasn't easy for the family. David wanted Nina to come home and work with him in the restaurant. But she stayed at the bank in Newcastle for 18 months. Then she took the job of area manager in Bristol, a city 25 kilometres from Bath. Maggie never heard from the Chilean visitor again. She never heard from Javier again either, and he never arrived in England. Maggie was very sad. She really thought that she and Javier were great together. It was hard for her. She wanted to believe that he was a good person, but all her friends told her to forget him. Sometimes she thought about going back to Chile to find him, but in the end, she didn't. She decided that probably it was just a holiday romance for him after all. Sam sold his mother's jewellery and gave Emma the money. After a few days, he had another conversation with his brother. Then he decided to leave his job at the newspaper and write a book. He worked at home so he could look after Alicia too. At first it was strange for him, But slowly he began to enjoy his new life. It was exciting to write, and Alicia was an easy child. Hannah got a good job in a shop which she enjoyed. They were still short of money. But one day, about 3 months later, he got a letter from Barrett, Grab and Lennox. Life began to look a lot better for Sam and his family.